Drazkowski is introducing House Concurrent Resolution Number 8, a House Concurrent Resolution relating to Minnesota's peacetime emergency, terminating the peacetime emergency pursuant to the authority granted under Minnesota Statute Section 12.31, Subdivision 2, Paragraph B. Drazkowski moves that the rules be so far suspended that House Concurrent Resolution Number 8 be now considered and placed upon its adoption.
Representative Drazkowski, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This House concurrent resolution ends the governor's peacetime emergency. If it's passed by the House today, it goes to the Senate for their concurrence. This will allow the legislature to develop plans for Minnesota going forward with the governor and pass them into law, which is the right way to proceed. After we pass that legislation, the Senate can then pass the concurrence on this particular resolution. Members, when the peacetime emergency was declared, we didn't know what to expect. The governor said we would lose 74,000 Minnesotans if we didn't shut down the economy. He told us that if we did shut it down, we would lose 55,000 Minnesota lives because the curve would be flattened, avoiding the overrunning of our hospital ICU beds. Governor Walz said that the sole purpose of his subsequent executive orders was to flatten the curve, to spread out the expression of the virus in the population over time, for the sole purpose of taking pressure off of our state's ICU facilities. The demand never came close. The curve is flat as a pancake. Thankfully, neither of those two horrible pictures that the governor painted to convince Minnesotans to shut down the state never happened. Now we hear the chief executive talking about continuing his shutdown until the disease is defeated, a completely different objective than what he originally communicated to be the reason for the shutdown. If you look at our neighboring states, you will find that the realities of how states handled this disease appear very counterfactual. Every one of the 5 states that have not instituted stay-at-home orders against their people has a death rate per million people due to COVID-19 equal to or lower than Minnesota does. North Dakota, South Dakota, and Iowa, states very much like us, directly border Minnesota. They have decided to protect their people and their economy. We can do the same. The South Dakota governor said, "The people themselves are primarily responsible for their safety. They are the ones that are entrusted with expansive freedoms." Members, each and every life lost in our state is sacred. My heart goes out to the more than 70 families who have lost loved ones over the past month, as well as those of over 3,500 people that have lost life from other causes during the same period. While helping people help themselves and live healthy lives is something we have been and should be focusing on, it's not the only thing. We also need to protect the economy. Madam Speaker, in our efforts to save lives, we are killing livelihoods. In just the past few weeks, the governor has ordered businesses closed and shut people up inside their homes. Our economy has been smoked. The state budget projection of $1.5 billion surplus is now likely a gaping deficit. I heard 14% of Minnesotans have filed for unemployment in 3 weeks. In my district, farmers' milk prices have been slashed, hog and beef prices are in the tank, and the fact that there's not a market for their finished animals has placed some farmers in positions that involve very difficult decisions about what they are going to do with the newborn offspring that they may no longer have room for. What about our hospitals? We've cleared them out. Many of them are nearly shut down, Tens of thousands of doctors, nurses, and dentists are unemployed. How are we going to fight this virus, or the next virus, for that matter, if our hospitals are broke? The executive orders have divided Minnesotans into essential and non-essential workers. Truth is, all Minnesota workers are essential in getting our economy going again. Throughout this executive order, about 80% of people have been working all along. It's time for the other 20% to go to work too. These orders do not make sense at all. People are allowed to go to a union meeting, but not a church meeting. They can go get an abortion, but not a kidney transplant. They can buy booze and medical marijuana, but they can't camp in a state forest. If we don't terminate the governor's emergency powers, we'll be ceding the authority of the legislature and the voice of the people to one person. It's the legislature's role as the voice of the people to set state policy, not one chief executive. In 1964, Ronald Reagan said in his speech, A Time for Choosing, he said, "The founding fathers knew a government can't control the economy without controlling people, and they knew when a government sets out to do that, it must use force and coercion to achieve its purpose. So we have come to a time for choosing." And members, we have come to a time for choosing. The people of our country and state are fighting COVID-19, and they will continue to fight it. Over the past 2 months, Minnesotans have learned what they need to do to protect themselves and their neighbors from this particular virus. Our doctors, the media, and our governments have all come together to help people understand what we need to do. Stay home if you're not feeling well, wash your hands often, don't gather in groups, clean hard surfaces, and keep distances from people are among the things we need to do to minimize the spread of the virus. Continued education will be part of the long-term strategy and role of government. It will not be forcing people to stay home, closing businesses, and stomping out civil rights. Members, it's time to get working on that strategy now. We need to remove the boot of government from the neck of our economy and give the people their freedom back. Madam Speaker, it's time to begin ending this peacetime emergency. The cure has become worse than the disease. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and members. I encourage your support for the resolution.
Discussion. Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, I rise in opposition to the motion to suspend the rules and end the peacetime emergency. Members, we just passed, on a bipartisan basis, legislation that helps in the fourth step to help Minnesota deal with the pandemic and provide state agencies with the authority that they need in order to combat this pandemic. We passed legislation that will help Minnesotans, average Minnesotans, businesses, courts, state agencies, farmers, local governments, uninsured Minnesotans, Minnesotans who are food insecure, and many, many more. It's the fourth package, and the legislature has managed to make itself relevant in an emergency by working together on a bipartisan basis and a bicameral basis in order to enact security measures. We will continue to support Governor Walz and his emergency action to protect the lives of Minnesotans. We in the legislature have adapted by creating remote hearings, by arranging our business here on the floor so that we can meet safely and still do the people's business. Due to the excellent work of our chief clerk staff and the sergeant-at-arms and IT staff, we were able to adapt and move forward, and we have done so with a high degree of cooperation amongst ourselves. We at the legislature continue to do the work of the people. We at the legislature continue to be able to monitor and provide oversight of the administration, and we have authority in Chapter 12 of the law that the governor has used to assert the peacetime emergency to end that peacetime emergency when we see fit. But members, we are, through this motion, trying to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. The fruits of the work of the Department of Health, the University of Minnesota, the Mayo Clinic, the governor of the state, his agencies, The legislature, in support of those policy actions and the necessary decisions that have been made, and most of all through the responsible people of the state of Minnesota who are complying with public health recommendations, are fighting and defeating COVID-19, at least as best we can. Minnesota ranks first in the nation in cases per capita. That means we are doing better than every other state in controlling this disease because we are listening to public health professionals, and we, as average citizens and as legislators, are supporting their recommendations. Representative Drazkowski compared us to South Dakota. What he didn't mention is that they just had one of the largest COVID-19 outbreaks in the nation at the pork processing plant, an outbreak that has forced that plant to shut down and has created a threat to our nation's food supply because they didn't take it seriously. The governor of South Dakota did not take COVID-19 sufficiently seriously to put in place protections to protect that plant and the people of the state. The mayor of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a Republican, has done the maximum under his power to try to shut his city down and protect its citizens from a state that is doing nothing. The fact of the matter is that we are having success in Minnesota because of the joint work of the legislature, the governor, the administration, the people of Minnesota, and the institutions of our state. We have the top professionals in health in the nation, or among them we have top institutions. We have wonderful people. We will not be sure on the front end, and we will continue to deal with uncertainty about the total number of lives that will be lost due to COVID-19 in Minnesota. We don't know the number of cases, but we do have excellent models showing most likely scenarios. We are extending out the peak of the disease into July. We are providing our healthcare providers the opportunity to create the number of ICU beds necessary. We're providing flexibility in our healthcare system so that we can maximize our resources to fight this disease. We are going to be top in the nation because we are doing the right thing, not because we are quitting. The motion to suspend the rules and end the peacetime emergency is a motion to quit fighting the disease. We have two motions coming up, first from Representative Drazkowski and the second from Representative Doubt to end the peacetime emergency. I am shocked that with lives on the line in Minnesota, with thousands of our citizens at risk of death and certainly far more at risk of very serious illness, that we are trying to end the measures, the very measures that are allowing us to outperform the rest of the country in dealing with this crisis. I don't know what it will take, Representative Drazkowski, until you take this seriously. I hope we do not reach the point that people will not believe that this is serious until they find themselves lying on the ground choking in their own mucus.
Madam Speaker,
Representative Davids.
point
For
of
what
order. I
purpose?
would say the majority leader is out of order questioning Representative Drazkowski's intention. If you would remind the body not to do that, it's against House rules.
Representative, I don't find the point of order well taken. Representative Munson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. We are living in an unimaginable time. We live in a time when broad powers have been unilaterally executed to regulate the lives of Minnesotans. A time when people's freedoms were taken and many people forced to live in complete isolation. A time when people have been arrested for playing catch with their children or playing cards with friends on private property. A time when government told a minority of Minnesotans, about 20% of them, that they no longer have permission to go to work, but at the same time allowing a majority of Minnesotans to continue in their jobs. We live in a time where government is not allowing people to gather to worship their God. A time when families are not allowed to say goodbye or mourn or celebrate, or people to even protest together. We live in a time when government has started to ration health care for Minnesotans, determining whose health care takes priority over the other health care. We live in a time when government encourages citizens to report and shame their neighbors rather than elicits compassion or understanding for what their circumstances are. We live in a time where local papers are publicly naming and shaming people who question decisions of their government. And we live in a time when personal responsibility is no longer valued. This is a time when our Constitution and our freedoms and our democratic process are most important. Our Constitution was written to protect freedoms for everyone, all the time, not just when it's easy. Just as the risks of the virus are not the same for everyone in every community, the detrimental effects, the costs of our actions of government is not falling evenly on the shoulders of Minnesotans and in each community. Our three branches of government are meant to stop the concentration of power for an extended period of time within one single branch. It's time that this legislature take back the power and stop sitting idly by while one person rules our state. It may not be easy to act on these decisions, and it's certainly politically less risky. But just because it's easy doesn't make it right. Never should Minnesotans accept a legislature that hands over its powers and obligations for months on end. It's our job and our duty to actually listen to Minnesotans, and balance the risks, and protect the minorities, and try to find the best path forward. It's our duty as legislators to question everything and continually seek better solutions. So no matter if you support opening the state or you support the executive actions of our governor, you should want to participate as legislators. We're not an authoritarian government, so it's time for the legislature to take its power back. You've all heard from business owners and employees in your district who've lost everything, who are calling you and they're at wit's end. The government has taken this from people. The government has taken this, and unlike taking a house to build a highway, we don't give them due process. We don't give them just compensation. We give them a phone number that nobody answers. We give them an application that nobody gets back to them on. COVID-19 is not going away. Anytime we open our state, we will be opening our state with risk, and there will inevitably be deaths. However, continuing as we are also presents deadly risks. The truth is, we can't sustain our current position. This is a reality. Our economy and our supply chains and our health and happiness and our security depend on our state reopening. Our stay-at-home order pushed the peak out, like Representative Drazkowski and Representative Winkler said. It allowed our hospitals time to prepare. They have had time to prepare. We have the best healthcare system in the country, arguably in the world. People come here because we have great healthcare. We don't have the same population size or the density they have in New York. We need to find a balance between the risks presented by COVID-19 and the risks caused by our reaction to COVID-19. So the people of the state of Minnesota need to also participate in finding the solutions. Government can't solve the problem. If our state remains in a place where freedoms do not flourish, where people don't have a voice, people aren't allowed to work, where we continue to destroy businesses, it's going to remain a state of stagnation, of fear, of resentment. It's time that we take our state and our freedoms back. Members, I support this resolution, and I encourage you to vote yes.
Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, Representative Winkler, Majority Leader Winkler, you actually made the point for this motion by Representative Drazkowski when you said the legislature is meeting. We are doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. Now, you tried to create fear in your message in people. I can tell you the people in rural Minnesota are angry right now. We know these are historic times. We say that in a lot of different ways, and we all understand that. We have a pandemic that's worldwide, unlike anything we've ever seen before. A pastor told me, just to put in perspective, when was the last time that the entire world was affected by something like this? And I said, when? And he said, the flood from Noah's times. We've had world wars. We've had pandemics in different areas. We had the plague in Europe. We've had different things, but we've never been so greatly affected. And I do want to take this time to know the people that have lost their loved ones from this. I mourn for them. For the people who are hospitalized, and I've heard stories. My wife is a nurse. My nephew is a nurse. I have friends who are doctors, and when someone contracts this and they're in the hospital, they're very alone. It's out of control. They basically just have to see, and we need to recognize that. This has had a great effect on our economy. There's a business person who called me this morning and said, what can we do? They bought this business in less than the last year, and it was a thriving business out in our area. And the work that they do is essential for our area. But because of the sickness, because of the governor's orders, because of so many different things, they're facing something that was not their own doing. They're facing probably closing their business. Members, I spend every day, 7 days a week, answering to emails, phone calls, texts, running into someone at the store. And these stories are very, very real, and I know that all of you are receiving these same sort of calls. This has been a great disruption to our society. I think it's going to be a long way coming back. We've had to make a lot of tough decisions. Here, the governor's had to make tough decisions. Our counties, our cities, everyone's had to work hard because of these uncharted waters. But I've seen some good things. I've seen us come together. I've seen Republicans and Democrats come together on this. I've seen the House and Senate come together. I've seen us all working with the governor's office. Bipartisan, bicameral, unified towards doing this. I supported the governor's emergency powers in the beginning, and I agreed with many of the ones that he established. I think we could have addressed issues with restaurants and bars differently. I don't think the stay-at-home order should have been a one-size-fits-all across the state, but those are just my opinions. Members, when a crisis comes, we can argue those opinions, but one thing we should not do is veer away from the basic principles of our great nation and our great state. Now, in a crisis, whether it's in our family or it's at the state or national level, whatever crisis we're facing, there tends to be there's a tendency to steer away from the basic principles by which we operate. You know, if a kid is sick, he might be able to stay up and sleep in mom and dad's bed, or he miss a little bit extra school. Here in the state, we've had to do some things that kind of change the rules a little bit. Again, we're in uncharted waters, and I understand that, okay? And so we've had to do some things, and there was a time for that. But members, our state and our nation abide by constitutions. And those constitutions call for a separation of powers. And while there might have been a period of time to where we had to exercise those executive emergency powers, that time has ended. Now, members, in closing, while I don't agree with everything that the governor has done, including the extended stay at home, I want to make a point. That's simply my one opinion. But that's one opinion against the opinion of the governor. And his responsibilities are great, I understand that. But members, we have 201 legislators that can form good policy, and then the governor can sign into law. Members, it's time to get back to the proper way of doing business. It's time to let the people of Minnesota have their proper representation here in St. Paul, and we can do this. I ask for your support of the suspension of rules so that we can discuss how we steer us back to the proper government. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from Anoka, Representative Barr.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I'm not going to rehash what the other three members of my caucus have already brought up. The only 2 points that I would like to add on to that, we're pushing the peak to July. We're moving this back. We're postponing when we will hit peak. What we should be doing is looking to move the peak as close to current as possible so we can get on the backside of this. We should be looking at what other countries and other states have done. Majority Leader Winkler brought up South Dakota. They had a spike in one spot. This is true. Look at Italy. They had a spike in Italy. They had a mass problem. Everybody is scared of Italy. 99% of the deaths in Italy had at least one underlying health issue. 48% of those that died in Italy had 3 underlying health issues. New York City, the main cause, 78% of the people that died of COVID-19 virus in New York City were considered obese. There are multiple things that factor into this, and we should be looking at what everybody else has done, is currently doing, and learn from other legislators, other governing bodies. The fact that we want to try and push the peak out to July suggests to me that we want to keep the economy closed until July. There won't be an economy left to come back to if it's closed in July. In 2008, we saw, after the 2008 economic disaster, we saw a spike in suicides, drug abuse, divorces, every bad thing that we have going on in our socially bad thing that goes on inside of our, in the communities, we saw a spike in that. So there was some researchers at Yale University went back and they studied throughout history economic downturns, and they could draw a very straight correlated line between suicides and the unemployment rate. We are driving the unemployment rate. Representative Miller, I believe, mentioned that it was 14% is what it's where we're sitting at right now. 14% of the state is unemployed. The St. Louis Fed has predicted the third quarter of this year we will be looking at a national unemployment rate of 32%, which eclipses by almost 7% anything we saw during the Great Depression. We will, if we do not find a better way to a more scalpeled or precision approach instead of a carpet bomb approach to solving this problem, we will see more deaths via suicide, drug overdose, domestic abuse. By far, it will far eclipse the deaths from COVID-19 virus. And with that, members, I ask for your support to take up the resolution to debate the measure. Thank you.
Discussion on the motion. Representative Dowd.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. While I certainly appreciate and support us ending the peacetime emergency and turning us back into a co-equal branch of government where the governor has to consult with us and work with us on moving forward and getting through this. Unfortunately, this resolution has some severe problems as a result, I think, unanswered questions. The advice that I'm getting is that if we pass a resolution just ending the peacetime emergency, that all of the executive orders cease immediately. I know there's been some discussion about then taking up some bills to kind of answer some of those questions, but we're not even at a place in our agenda where we can take up bills. There aren't bills introduced today that we could take up to do that. I just wanted to stand up and for those members who support ending the peacetime emergency, I have a resolution that I've actually been working on for some weeks. I've been having conversations with the 4 leaders regularly about us planning ending the peacetime emergency and what would happen afterwards. The resolution of mine will come up after this, and mine is much more orderly. It deals with some of that stuff. If we pass this one, school kids will be back in school tomorrow. There will be just a ton of business filings and things that are kind of unknown how we would respond. In mine, I dealt with all of those issues and how we would respond to those. So certainly just want to invite folks to their attention to the fact that there is another amendment or resolution coming up that will do this same thing, but does it in a much more orderly way.
Further discussion on the motion to suspend. Representative Drazkowski.
Thank you. I'll just respond to a couple of things that were said. First of all, Majority Leader Winkler, if the Smithfield plan had been in Minnesota or China, in those cases, they would have still needed to produce meat. You would add the same thing. As a matter of fact, the death rate per million people in South Dakota is half of what it is here in Minnesota. Representative Dowd, I outlined in the early part of my introduction of this motion that just in case you didn't hear it, the way a House concurrent resolution works is that after we pass it, it goes to the Senate. It requires 2 bodies to pass the resolution before it goes into effect. As a matter of fact, it has to then be recorded by the Secretary of State and delivered to the governor after that. But what would happen if we pass this resolution today, which is very well written. Nonpartisan staff helped with it. I haven't had anybody give negative feedback about the structure of the resolution, so it's actually in very good shape. And as a matter of fact, we would pass this resolution today. It will make its way to the Senate, and then when it gets there, the Senate can hold the resolution, work with us for 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, or 1 month, or however it takes. Hopefully it doesn't take 1 month, but maybe an hour a day or a week, and help us get the plan for Minnesota going forward ready to go in concurrence with the governor, pass that into law, and then the Senate will pass a resolution and end the peacetime emergency. Urge your support for the motion to bring this resolution to the floor. Madam Speaker, I would ask that we do a roll call with the people on the phone. Thank you.
So Pat, he's asking for a roll call. We need to roll call whether there's 15 hands, right? Right. So should we just ask whether there's 15 hands for a roll call? So the clerk will put the question to members of whether there are 15 hands for a roll call. Representative Drazkowski is requesting a roll call. And the clerk will call the roll. And members, if you say yes, it is the same thing as if you were in the chamber and you were raising your hand. So the clerk will take the roll on the request for a roll call.
Madam Speaker?
Representative Drazkowski.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to withdraw that request, and actually, when we get to the point, I'd like to call division if I could do that.
Representative Dowd.
Madam Speaker, I'd request a roll call, and I'd invite members not to raise their hands right now.
Representative Dowd requests a roll call. To determine whether there are 15 hands, the clerk will take the roll.
Just 1 second. I'll have to go through the whole thing.
Ready?
Acom.
No.
Acom, no. Albright.
No.
Albright, no. Anderson.
No.
Anderson, no. Backer.
Yes.
Backer, yes. Bonner.
Bonner. No.
Bonner, no. Barr. Yes. Barr, aye. Baker.
No.
Baker, no. Becker Finn.
Nope.
Becker Finn, no. Bennett.
No.
Bennett, no. Bernardi.
Bernardi, no.
Bernardi, no. Bierman.
No.
Bierman, no. Bow. Bow, no. Brand.
No.
Brand, no. Cantrell.
No.
Cantrell, no. Carlson, A.
Carlson, A. No.
Carlson, A, no. Carlson, L.
No.
Carlson, L, no. Christensen.
No.
Christensen, no. Claflin.
No.
Claflin, no. Considine.
Considine, no.
Considine, no. Daniels.
No.
Daniels, no. Doubt. Doubt. Davids. Doubt, no. Davids. Davids, no. Davney. Davney, no. Dean.
Dean, no.
Dean, no. Damath.
No.
Damath, no. Detmer. Drazkowski. Drazkowski, yes. Eklund.
No.
Eklund, no. Edelson.
No.
Edelson, no. Elkins.
No.
Elkins, no. Erickson.
Yes.
Erickson, yes. Fabian.
No.
Fabian, no. Fisher. Fisher.
No.
Fisher, no. Franzen.
Yes.
Franzen, yes. Freiberg.
No.
Freiberg, no. Garofalo. Garofalo, no. Gomez.
No.
Gomez, no. Green.
No.
Green, no. Grossel.
No.
Grossel, no. Grunhagen.
Yes.
Grunhagen, aye. Gunther.
No.
Gunther, no. Haley.
No.
Haley, no. Halverson. Halverson, no. Hamilton.
No.
Hamilton, no. Hanson.
No.
Hanson, no. Hassan.
No.
Hassan, no. Hausman.
Houseman. No.
Hausman, no. Heinrich.
Yes.
Heinrich, yes. Heinzeman. Heinzeman, no. Her.
No.
Her, no. Hertos.
Yes.
Hertos, yes. Hornstein.
No.
Hornstein, no. Howard. Howard, no. Hewitt.
No.
Hewitt, no. Johnson.
Who else will be?
Johnson.
Cosby votes no.
Johnson, no. Jordan.
No.
Jordan, no. Jurgens.
You have your speaker on. No.
Jurgens.
No.
Jurgens, no. Keel.
No.
Keel, no. Cleavorn. Cleavorn, no. Cagill. Cagill, no. Katiza Watun.
No.
Katiza Watun, no. Kosnick.
Cosmic, no.
Kosnick, no. Creshaw. Creshaw.
No.
Creshaw, no. Kunish Podine.
No.
Kunish Podine, no. Lehman.
Lehman, no.
Lehman, no. Lee.
No.
Lee, no. Lesh. Lesh, no. Liebling. Liebling, no. Lean.
No.
Lean, no. Lilly.
No.
Lilly, no. Lippert.
No.
Lippert, no. Lislegard.
No.
Lislegard, no. Long. Long, no. Lucero.
Lucero, yes.
Lucero, aye. Lewick.
No.
Lewick, no. Mahoney.
No.
Mahoney, no. Mann.
No.
Mann, no. Mariani.
No.
Mariani, no. Marquardt.
No.
Marquardt, no. Mason. Mason, no. McDonald. McDonald.
No.
McDonald, no. Mecklin.
Mecklen, yes.
Mecklin, yes. Miller. Miller, aye. Moeller. Moeller, no. Moran. Moran, no. Morrison.
No.
Morrison, no. Munson. Yes. Munson, aye. Murphy. Murphy.
No.
Murphy, no. Nash. Nash.
Nash, no.
Nash, no. Nelson M.
No.
Nelson M, no. Nelson N.
No.
Nelson N, no. New. New, no. Nor.
No.
Nor, no. Nornis.
No.
Nornis, no. Novotny.
No.
Novotny, no. O'Driscoll. No. O'Driscoll, no. Olson.
No.
Olson, no. O'Neill.
No.
O'Neill, no. Pulowski.
No.
Pulowski, no. Purcell.
No.
Purcell, no. Petersburg.
No.
Petersburg, no. Pearson. Pearson. Pinto.
No.
Pinto, no. Poppy. Poppy, no. Poston.
Yes.
Poston, aye. Pryor.
No.
Pryor, no. Quam. Quam. Richardson.
No.
Richardson, no. Robbins.
Robbins, no.
Robbins, no. Runbeck. Runbeck, no. Sandell.
No.
Sandell, no. Sandsted.
No.
Sandsted, no. Sauk.
No.
Sauk, no. Schumacher.
No.
Schumacher, no. Schultz.
No.
Schultz, no. Scott. Scott. Scott, no. Stevenson.
No.
Stevenson, no. Sundin.
No.
Sundin, no. Swazinski. Swazinski.
No.
Swazinski, no. Tabke. Tabke, no. Tice.
No.
Tice, no. Torkelson.
No.
Torkelson, no. Erdahl.
No.
Erdahl, no. Vang.
No.
Vang, no. Vogel.
No.
Vogel, no. Wagenius.
Genius, no.
Wagenius, no. Wozlowick.
No.
Wozlowick, no. West.
No.
West, no. Winkler. Winkler, no. Walgamot.
No.
Walgamot, no. Zhang Jie.
No.
Zhang Jie, no. Zhang Ti.
No.
Zhang Ti, no. Joachim.
No.
Joachim, no. Speaker Hartman. Speaker Hartman, no.
There were not 15 hands for a roll call. Representative Drazkowski.
Madam Speaker.
Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think this is a point of order, maybe just a point of...
State your point of order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Earlier in this time that we've spent here, there was a suspension of the rules on the first bill that we passed, and there was no request for a roll call on that. We just did a roll call on what we refer to as the insulin bill. What's the difference here?
The difference is we were suspending the Constitution to pass legislation, and this is a suspension of a House rule that can be done by voice vote. So now it will be an oral vote, and then after that, a division is in order. If a division is called, there will be a roll call, there will be a number produced, but there will not be printed in the journal a record of the votes. All those in favor of the motion to suspend, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion does not prevail. Division having been requested, the clerk will call the roll on the Drazkowski motion to suspend for the purposes of a division.
Acom.
No.
Acom, no. Albright.
No.
Albright, no. Anderson.
No.
Anderson, no. Backer.
Yes.
Backer, aye. Bonner.
Bonner? No.
Bonner, no. Barr. Barr, aye. Baker.
No.
Baker, no. Becker Finn.
No.
Becker Finn, no. Bennett.
No.
Bennett, no. Bernardi.
Bernardi, no.
Bernardi, no. Bierman.
Bierman, no.
Bierman, no. Bow. Bow. Bow, aye. Brand.
No.
Brand, no. Cantrell.
No.
Cantrell, no. Carlson, A.
No.
Carlson, A, no. Carlson, L.
No.
Carlson, L, no. Christensen. Christensen. Claflin.
No.
Claflin, no. Considine.
Considine, no.
Considine, no. Daniels.
No.
Daniels, no. Doubt. Doubt. Davids. Davids. Davney. Davney, no. Dean.
No.
Dean, no. Damath.
No.
Damath, no. Detmer. Detmer. Drazkowski. Drazkowski, aye. Eklund.
No.
Eklund, no. Edelson.
No.
Edelson, no. Elkins.
No.
Elkins, no. Erickson. Erickson, no. Fabian.
No.
Fabian, no. Fisher.
No.
Fisher, no. Franzen.
Yes.
Franzen, aye. Freiberg.
No.
Freiberg, no. Garofalo. Garofalo, aye. Gomez.
No.
Gomez, no. Green.
No.
Green, no. Grossel.
Yes.
Grossel, aye. Grunhagen.
Yes.
Gruenhagen, aye. Gunther.
No.
Gunther, no. Haley. Haley. Halverson. Halverson, no. Hamilton.
No.
Hamilton, no. Hanson.
No.
Hanson, no. Hassan.
No.
Hassan, no. Hausman.
Houseman, no.
Hausman, no. Heinrich.
Aye.
Heinrich.
Aye.
Heinrich, aye. Heinzemann. Heinzemann, no. Her.
No.
Her, no. Hertos.
Hurtas, aye.
Hertos, aye. Hornstein.
No.
Hornstein, no. Howard. Howard, no. Hewitt.
No.
Hewitt, no. Johnson.
No.
Johnson, no. Jordan.
No.
Jordan, no. Jurgens.
No.
Jurgens, no. Keel.
No.
Keel, no. Cleavorn. Cleavorn, no. Cagle. Cagle, no. Katiza Watun.
No.
Katiza Watun, no. Kosnick.
No.
Kosnick, no. Kreshaw. Kreshaw. Kunish Podine.
No.
Kunish Podine, no. Lehman.
No.
Lehman, no. Lee.
No.
Lee, no. Lesh. Lesh, no. Liebling. Liebling, no. Lean.
No.
Lean, no. Lilly.
No.
Lilly, no. Lippert.
No.
Lippert, no. Lislagard.
No.
Lislagard, no. Long. Long, no. Lucero.
Yes, in all capital letters.
Lucero, aye. Lewick.
No.
Lewick, no. Mahoney.
No.
Mahoney, no. Mann.
No.
Mann, no. Mariani. Mariani, no. Markwart.
No.
Markwart, no. Mason.
I'm not responding.
Mason. Mason, no. McDonald. McDonald. Mecklen.
Macklin, yes.
Mecklen, aye. Miller. Miller, aye. Moeller. Moeller, no. Moran.
Moran, no.
Moran, no. Morrison.
No.
Morrison, no. Munson. Munson, aye. Murphy.
No.
Murphy, no. Nash.
No.
Nash, no. Nelson M.
No.
Nelson M, no. Nelson N. Nelson N. New. New. Nor.
No.
Nor, no. Nornis.
No.
Nornis, no. Novotny.
No.
Novotny, no. O'Driscoll. O'Driscoll. O'Driscoll, no. Olson.
No.
Olson, no. O'Neill. O'Neill. Pawlowski.
No.
Pawlowski, no. Purcell.
No.
Purcell, no. Petersburg.
No.
Petersburg, no. Pearson. Pearson. Pinto.
No.
Pinto, no. Poppy. Poppy, no. Poston.
Yes.
Poston, aye. Pryor.
No.
Pryor, no. Quam. Quam.
No.
Quam, no. Okay, who's? Something came through on that. Richardson.
No.
Richardson, no. Robbins.
No.
Robbins, no. Runbeck. Runbeck, no. Sandell.
No.
Sandell, no. Sandsted.
No.
Sandsted, no. Sauk.
No.
Sauk, no. Schumacher.
No.
Schumacher, no. Schultz.
No.
Schultz, no. Scott. Scott, no. Stevenson.
No.
Stevenson, no. Sundin.
No.
Sundin, no. Swazinski. Swazinski. Tabke. Tabke, no. Tice.
No.
Tice, no. Torkelson.
No.
Torkelson, no. Erdahl.
No.
Erdahl, no. Vang. Vang. Vogel.
No.
Vogel, no. Wagenius.
No.
Wagenius, no. Wozlowick.
No.
Wozlowick, no. West.
No.
West, no. Winkler. Winkler, no. Walgamot. Walgamot.
No.
Walgamot, no. Zhang Jie.
No.
Zhang Jie, no. Zhang Ti.
No.
Zhang Ti, no. Joachim.
No.
Joachim, no. Speaker Hartman. Speaker Hartman, no. Division, yeah. A voice came through.
There being 15 ayes and 105 nays, the motion did not prevail.
House Concurrent Resolution Number 8 is being referred to the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration.